Hi, everybody. My name's Danya Thomas. The name of our show is Yin and Yang, but yin is only, I got two yins. Yin means women, yang means the other sex. Did I say it the wrong? The other sex. No, don't get it wrong. I love men. I really do. It's just, all it takes is one little, should I say the word asshole? One little asshole to make the whole male race a bunch of assholes. And guys, we know that this is not the way I wanted the show to go. This is Zee's fault.
She's blaming me and I haven't said a word as yet.
Anyway, we have a very sensitive topic right now, and I want you to listen in because you may know someone or you may have experienced sexual harassment at the workplace. And it's actually rampant right now. Why is it rampant? We're going to explore the reason why. And like I said, you may not have been sexually harassed at work. You may know someone, maybe it could be your daughter, it could even be a man, it could be your son. Because nowadays, it seems to be the norm, okay? It seems to be the norm that if I give a little booty or if I do this or that, I'm going to get a raise. Okay, I meant, raise.
What kind of raise?
Okay, this is your fault, Z.
See, I'm being blamed. I haven't said anything
raise.
at all. And she's
I mean
already
a raise,
blaming me.
at work.
What kind of raise?
Okay. Okay. All right. Let's go back to the topic. Okay. This is your fault. But this is my good friend Zee Ali, and she actually has first class experience as an HR. Stop laughing, please. You're making me. As an HR head honcho or honcha. Female, right? Honcho, not honcho, honcha.
Espanol now.
Honcha, baby. No, okay. Okay, so she worked for, we're not going to mention names, so if you know her, just ignore her. We don't want any calls, anyway. So she was a director for HR for 10 years. Great experience.
10 years plus.
Yes, and it was an engineering company.
I work for a global engineering company in Canada and IT and pharmaceutical and clinical research in Florida.
Very good. See, that's why I said you take over because you said it better. You would say it better. I don't want to mess it up. So we're going to talk about something serious. And, if you can call in or email us, you can email Maria at socialmediashows.com. You can email me, Danya, DANYAD 30 at yahoo.com. If you have any comments, please, no cussing. Just, send me an email because we'd like to know. We're here for the solution. We're here because we want to help. There might be one person out there that has experienced sexual harassment in the workplace or being sexually abused by a family member, mom's boyfriend, whoever, because it's on the rise, and we want to get to the solution. We want to present solutions so that victims out there, you victims, don't feel so helpless. And I'm going to share something that happened to me at the workplace. And actually, I had kind of pushed that in the back of my mind. But now that this topic is open, I am going to share. So
we sort of
I'm going to
stifle
turn
it.
it over
You
to
stifle
Z.
it and then it's got to erupt sometime. You've got to speak about it. That's why people go for therapy. Because if you keep it buried, eventually it's going to affect you with depression,
Yes.
self-destruction. There's so many ways you might lash out at the wrong place, wrong person, wrong time. So you do need to tell someone, confide in someone,
Yes.
because you're not the only one who's probably been through this or have experienced it. Whatever helps, talk about it. How many years did it take you now to talk about it?
Oh my goodness. I would say maybe about 13, 14 years. I actually pushed that out of my mind because I felt like I had done something wrong. And then to have my dad say, why didn't you, I told you to take this job. I didn't know this was going to happen. So I already felt shame. I already felt disgraced. I already felt embarrassed. I can go on and on and on. And then when he said that to me, it made me feel really angry because my dad was the one that told me take the job with the higher pay.
Okay, but that's the thing. Why are
And
you
it's not
taking the
his
shame?
fault.
Why are you taking the shame or the blame?
Well, I took, I'm going to
Because
say,
we all do it.
yeah, I'm going to say took because that's more past tense. If that happens again, then I know exactly what to do. But in my mind, I was thinking, okay, these are the skills I'm going to use at this place where I don't feel comfortable. Because mind you, I have a teaching background and I took this telemarketing job, actually appointment setting job. My dad said go with the higher money. So I had a choice, take case management with Salvation Army or work with blankety blank vacation suites. Oh, I said too much, didn't I? Oh, okay. Let's bleep, beep, beep. Let's go back. Okay, we're going to bleep. Good Lord.
That's okay.
Don't send me a bad email. Okay. If you...
But it's good that you're speaking about it now.
Yeah, because I had pushed it in the back of my mind because I was being sexually harassed and everyone in the office thought it was funny. At first, I said, well, I want to fit in. We're in close quarters. This is a different industry for me. I felt so uncomfortable. And because of the people pleasing, because I used to be a serious people pleaser. And so I was like, well, I'm just gonna just bite the bullet, go in there with a smile, laugh at these silly jokes. But the jokes started getting more sexual, more threatening because he says, I know where you live. I know where you live. So, in other words, he was threatening me, and that really scared me. And see, now I would handle that a whole different way. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what you said. Let's go into the boss's office and let's talk about this. So I would deal with it much differently today. But I did feel embarrassed. When I mentioned sexual harassment, I was whisked out of the office within a hot second. And then he said, we take this seriously, blah, blah, blah. They put me in another department. And I felt like a fish out of water there because they were trying to teach me concepts and things dealing with numbers. I have a teaching background as an English teacher, did TV shows with my classes on and on. And I was like, I'm just going to quit. So I actually got pushed out. But it was methodical how they did it. They stuck to the rules. They moved me out, put me into a different department, but they set me up to fail. And so again, I kind of blame myself. I should have taken the other job, blah, blah, blah. I should have reported this sooner. A few people said, this is a lawsuit. And in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, and this is serious because this may apply to people out there that know of people that either got assaulted or killed because of the act of the violence of rape or sexual harassment. And so he kept saying that in the back of my mind. I'm thinking, man, he knows where I live. I don't know how he figured out where I lived, but it really scared me, and that's why I didn't take it to an attorney. And everyone was saying, no, just go to the attorney. You can take a protective order out against him. But he had instilled such fear in my mind that all I could think of, what if? What if he does this? What if he's stalking me? So, and I know there was like a 7-year statute limitation. Yeah, so I just kind of pushed it out of my mind, but it did bring on a lot of shame. And it took me years to get rid of that shame. And actually, I had forgotten about the incident. So, if you're out there and you know someone that has been sexually harassed on the job, please talk to them. Tell them to go talk to the person in
human resources,
yes.
But not keep it to yourself. And
Yes.
the most important thing is, as women, we tend to say, what if with the stories that we tell ourselves in our heads. We do the self-sabotaging as well, instead of looking for, well, who can help me? Because if you had gotten advice, maybe they would have asked you to, the best thing to do is report it and get a restraining order. This way, at least you would have been have that peace of mind instead of looking over your shoulder. Is he following me? Whatever, there's fear of retaliation always.
Yes.
And when someone even apologizes, you never know if they did it once and they get away with it. If they got away with it once, do you think they would not try again with somebody else?
Wow.
Another vulnerable subject or somebody they're working with? It happens all the time. A lot of people do it for, promotions, raises, to be favored. In certain cases with the young boys being raped, they when they interviewed some of these victims, they said, I was singled out. Nobody ever looked at me until the person in a superior position favored me. So they want to feel, everybody wants to feel loved and
Yes,
special.
yes,
So what do? They give in and they're nurtured, and they go along with it because they want to feel loved and special.
yes.
So there are a lot of time people, did we do it, I'm saying we, the individuals or the victims. I don't want to say you. But there are a lot of people, they blame themselves. Their co-workers may call them terrible names or say you asked for it. So there are pluses and there are minuses. And victims are male and female because they're female bosses as well that take advantage. If you think you're not going to get a promotion or a raise or whatever, bonus is coming along depending on where you work, you never know what happens behind the scene. But companies are there, HR is there to protect the company as well. We do have legal assistance to ask for guidance. It's also there to protect the employees. So it's a go-to place for the employees. So employees should be taken advantage because once an incident happens, there is an employee folder. The employee signs, at least it's recorded. It's not hearsay because if it's not in writing,
Didn't happen.
it didn't happen.
Yeah.
It could be like 5 years later, 2 years later, when you didn't get that raise, when you didn't get the position you're expecting, then you blame the manager. Then you come up with something like, a lot of people, like you mentioned Epstein, people then blame, or they're thinking from a financial standpoint, how can I sue? Do I get, what's in it for me? But then it's hearsay. You didn't have it documented and signed.
And with me, I'm going to piggyback on what you're just saying. I'm just remembering the emotions that I had were, oh my God, I've upset the apple cart. I am the drama queen. Now the whole family is not getting along because because they put kind of I don't want to say a guilt trip on me, but it's almost like, and you went and told on him, like, and that's the attitude.
What will people say? What will people say? Reputation. That's another thing.
Yes.
That's what we do. Everybody does it, and it has different culture, just different tradition. Wherever we were born, we take that with us. It's like, oh, are you dressed a certain way? Were you dressing provocative? So it's your fault. Did you come on to him or accept a ride
I didn't even
from
like
him?
I didn't even like him. I was like, ugh. I was, and if you're watching, you know what? I don't remember your name. But that's how I felt. And I was like, should I say something or not? And just something told me, get up and go into the boss's office right now. And I really liked the boss because he was funny. He was caring. He kept us together cohesively. So here comes me. And I'm the troublemaker now. Now I ruin it for the whole office. So before I could just say Jack, whatever, I was ushered right out of there. Never went back there again because he put me in another department, but I was set up to fail because I was like the embarrassment. And what did I do? Nothing.
So then the victim usually gets blamed. It's not just in the workplace, it's all over.
Yes.
It's like you were at the wrong place at the wrong time. What were you there? Oh, you were drinking alcohol. So you were asking for it. Oh, why were you dressed like that? You're dressed with the low cut and whatever. Well, why were you dressed so provocative? Maybe you're asking to be raped. So a lot of the times the victim gets blamed or is shamed in what will people say? What will the family say? What will the church say? What will, the members? Like you're bringing, it's like, so now you're victim and victimized twice. Or over and over. That's why a lot of people don't report it. That's why a lot of people sweep it under the carpet
right.
and hope it would go away. And then 40 years later, it surfaces because every time you suppress and suppress, what
That's so
happens?
true.
It's still there.
Yes.
That memory is there 40 years after, and you could still experience that feeling, that pain, that disgust, that embarrassment. It doesn't go away. So it helps to talk about it. If there's somebody out there who needs help, or something like this happened or is happening in the workplace or with friends and co-workers, they say, I can't remember the statistic, but I think 38% of rape or molestation is by people like friends or acquaintances.
Yes.
It's not a total stranger. The percentage is a lot lesser than that.
I think now it's coming back to me. It's kind of weird. Now I'm starting to remember things that I kind of pushed away. This is what made me think to myself, I am not saying a word to anybody, because he started talking about his new gun that he bought. He had just purchased a new gun. And I didn't, it could have been paranoia. It could have been, he was hinting to me that, hey, you say something, I know where you live and I got a gun. It could have been a joke.
So
I don't know.
intimidation.
But
So it's intimidation.
Yes, intimidation.
So if you're a child, or
Absolutely.
if you're younger, or if you're
Yes.
not exposed, with the law and the rules, then you're intimidated. It's like a lot of victims, they're told,
Yes.
if you say anything at all, I know where you live, I know your family, I know your parents, I know, you know, you were asking for it. I'll turn it around on you. So intimidation as well. That's why a lot of people don't say anything at all.
Hey, we're going to wrap this up. We are coming back. We're going to take a little break. All you yins out there, yin is women, yang are men. My yang-a-lang is not here tonight, so it's just yin-yin. So if you have any ideas, just contact us, hit us up, let us know what you're thinking, and we'll be back.
Live streaming on social media is the best new way to interact and bond with your community. Do you love to encourage, motivate, and empower others, but you do not know how? Well, your opportunity starts with us on social media shows. We have 20 shows a week live streamed across the globe, with a reach of over 80,000 and growing. So you can host your own show, and you can be anything you want to be. So let's bring the community together, and let's bring the world to you. Join us now. We've reached the age of live streaming on social media shows. You may ask, we're already ahead of the curve, so why do you need to advertise with us? Well, only 8% of the businesses in the US are using digital advertising to grow their business. That's 2 percentage points short of reaching critical mass, which will lead to faster results. We have 20 plus shows with a reach of over 80,000. We'll give you commercial ads, website link, and connections to nonprofit organizations. So get your brand ready for digital monetization, for we are looking for sponsors, which will bring more traffic to your business and ultimately mean more sales. So let's bring the world to you. Inquire now.
We are now reaching our second year anniversary on our inspirational, educational, and entertainment programmings. As part of our journey, we are so grateful to announce that our programs are now available to watch live in real time on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Periscope. A big appreciation to all our followers, viewers, supporters, and to those who are cheering for our success. Thank you very much for your patronage. For 2 years we have produced over 25 shows. And joined by passionate collaborators, individuals, and organizations. Social media shows network.
Hi, we're back. I'm Yin, and she's Yin. Our Yang is not here, but we are going to address Yang, which is male, Yin is female. We are going to address some issues that some guys have had where they have been sexually harassed by women or by men at the workplace. So we want you to stay tuned. We want you to hit us up. Let us know how can we come to a solution, because there's so many people crying themselves to sleep because they don't want to lose the job. They don't want to lose the job, but yet they're being sexually pressured or harassed or whatever word you want to use. So, and there's a lot of fear. So I want to ask you something. What does it say in the employee's handbook about sexual harassment at the workplace?
Everything is to protect the employee and also the company, right? And the rules are put there in place. Before an employee start with a company, they're given an employee handbook, which explains everything in detail, what's acceptable behavior and what isn't. Also, managers are also trained to not cross that line as well. So managers training is totally different, because that could cost a company millions of dollars in a lawsuit, depending on the level of the position as well. So companies are there, again, to protect the company and the employees from liability, and also having a safe, protective environment to work in.
For everybody.
And we're talking about yin and yang, and there are men who are also subjected to, discrimination in some sort of way, or coerced into performing things that they don't feel comfortable. It's like, does that man, if that manager crosses the line, and they know because they've been trained as what's acceptable and what isn't. If they promise an employee, whether it's a male or a female, that they'll get this position or the promotion, or will create a position for you, male or female, again, they're good and bad people. We're human beings. We're not perfect. Everybody makes mistakes, and they're good and bad people in every race, religion, and culture. It doesn't matter where. People are people. Men are men. Women are women.
Yes.
And we all have the same. Everybody wants to feel loved and be noticed and be favored and want that promotion and be selected over somebody else. So it's kind of like a catch-22. It's like, but managers know whether they're crossing the line or not, whether they're using their power, to get what they want. But that's selfishness. It happens in schools. It happens in churches. It happens in the work, all over.
It's all over.
Again,
and especially
we're human
now,
beings.
because nobody wants to lose their job. So I could see that that's a lot of people pleasing. It's called people pleasing type
Right.
personality, because we all want the promotion. We want to be the boss's favorite, or we want to be seen in good light by the boss. So that's kind of natural behavior. But then, like my friend was saying to me about an hour ago, where do we draw the line?
Well, if you feel uncomfortable at any time,
Yes.
okay, this one lady I spoke with, she said this co-employee would walk every morning that she walked in, he would run up to her and hug her, but hug her so tightly that her breast hurt. She knew he was crossing the line, so it was like a cheap
Did
feel.
she like it?
No, she didn't. So was he
okay.
crossing the line? Did she speak up? She didn't feel comfortable. So what do you call that?
What did she
Crossing the
do?
line?
What did he do?
She reported it.
She did? Okay.
Yeah.
What happened to Mr. Huggy Bear?
He was disciplined. There was disciplinary action. He apologized. So now there's always both two sides to a story. He said no. His intention was friendship only. He didn't want anything else. But it's always, he say, she say. Who do you believe? But the thing is, she felt
We
uncomfortable.
believe Yin.
She felt
Yin.
So how do you know you're crossing the line? How do you get, as women, we have this intuition that, oh my God, I don't feel safe. I get that feeling inside that I just don't feel comfortable. Do you get that
Yes.
as well? If
Oh.
you're in a place or
A lot
with
of
the wrong
times.
person?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Like Michelle was mentioning earlier, there's some people you will be, because you're a friendly person, because you're out there with the public, you meet and greet different people, but how do you know what that other person's intention is? You don't know what's in another human being's head.
And you know what I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm from New York. We just jump all over each other. You don't even finish what you're trying to say. Hey, listen. Okay. The whole thing here is about fear. I think this is fear induced because
we want to be liked.
exactly
We don't want to be excluded. We don't want to be
Exactly.
shunned.
Yes.
And here's another thing, and I saw this happen at a place I worked in Canada, in that one company. This one woman felt, she spoke up about something. Everything was fine on a legal side, but her co-workers quit inviting her out for lunches. They whisper, they share internal jokes, but she was excluded. What messages are they sending her? How would you feel if you were excluded?
Exactly.
But you still have your job. Chances are, most likely, the company didn't push her out. She felt so uncomfortable that she started looking for another job.
Yes, yes.
Can she turn around and sue the company? No.
Can she?
No, because she resigned. She didn't file anything. They were not hurting her. But because we all want to be part of the tribe, part of the group, what do we do?
Yes.
We're followers. We're followers.
Yes, because look,
we want to belong.
and in this day and age, it's all about fitting in. I gotta fit. I have to fit in politically.
Yeah.
If I'm with a certain group of people, I have to fit in politically. So what do we talk about in the break room? We're going to talk about our politics
religion,
or religion. Exactly.
And that's what I told my children when they were growing up in Canada. I said, do not discuss religion or politics. Whatever you do not discuss religion and politics. Because
you're on next week.
you can lose the best of friendships.
Absolutely.
You can get into, some people are so passionate that they're not open-minded, that we don't have to be clones of each other. We don't have to think exactly alike. We can have difference of opinions.
Absolutely.
That's why we're individuals.
Yes. Absolutely. So, do I hear a ring-a-ling-a-ling, ring-a-ling-a-ling? That's your cue. That's your cue. Is she calling? Okay. Another question. Oh, what a surprise. We have Michelle calling. I am so shocked. Michelle, I didn't know you were calling. I mean, who is this?
I've been watching the show. This is Michelle Finnegan-Nixon.
Oh, my goodness. What a surprise. Good. We want to hear. What do you have to say, Miss Michelle Finnegan-Nixon?
Well, it was kind of reminded me, this whole topic of boundaries, and my husband used to say to me, you know, who asked you out to lunch today? You know, and I without question. He said, and I would say, well, no one, you know, today. He says, well, you have no stop signs. And I think, what does he mean by I have no stop signs? Because I was very friendly, and I actually got into a corporate company through the temp services. So I was like the receptionist. I was pursuing acting at the time. So I looked really good, pursuing movie work. And to pay my bills, to help support that, I took on temp jobs. And I ended up being a receptionist. And in the beginning of that company, I was invited everywhere. They would say, oh, can you greet our, you know, representatives from all over the world? I'd be like, sure. And then the office women would be all mad at me, and I didn't know why. And then, you know, I noticed that I was constantly being asked to lunch by married men. Mm-hmm. And I kept saying no and no and no, and it was getting real persistent. Until finally I did go to lunch and said, look, you know, you're a married person. This does not look okay to me. But since you kept pestering me, I finally did go to lunch. And it was just a bad behavior, you know, listening to him complain about the wife, you know, and how she's this and that. I'm sitting there, you know, I don't know this person that well, but, you know, they put so much pressure on me to go to lunch. I finally go to lunch, and then I get to hear that. And then eventually the same man wanted me to work as an assistant in the office, and the company did give him a couple hours of my time to work for him to help him manage his files. Now, if you are an engineer, sometimes they have what they call these flippy books, which you put your blueprints in or your drawings. Mm-hmm. And this guy wanted me to take a pair of scissors and cut each page. And this was sitting right behind his desk. And he wanted them to cut each page so that they would be pristine. And I thought that was kind of weird, and I got frustrated. And I had talked to the secretary in a break, and I said, you know, Mark wants me to cut these pieces of paper. It makes absolutely no sense. And she goes, what does he want you to do? And so when she went and found out what he wanted me to do, she said, oh, no, she's not doing that. We're not going to have her do that. But she didn't explain to me why that was wrong. We just didn't talk about it. And then about a month later, I kept noticing that the president of the company kept coming into my cubicle, and he would put his hands on my waist, the back of me. And I got really uncomfortable with that, and I didn't want to, lose the job because I loved where I worked. I thought it was a great place. But I thought that was kind of getting weird. Different man. And so I went to my supervisor, and I had become such a friend with her that I didn't think she would ever take any action on what I said. So I said, so-and-so has been coming into my cubicle and hovering over me, and he touches me with his hands on my waist.
Wait, can I stop you for a minute?
She was on her way outside the office.
Michelle, I want to stop.
And then she,
Michelle, I want to stop you for a minute. This is my question. What made you go into your supervisor's office and confess that was happening to you? What emotion came up when you did that?
Yeah, so here's what happened. I didn't see her as an authority to protect me. Mm-hmm. I had developed such a friendship with her that I saw her as a friend. And so on her way out the door, I went to her and I said, Barbara, so-and-so is going in my cubicle and touching me, it's making me uncomfortable. I didn't even accuse him of anything as sexual harassment. I just said, it's probably not a good idea that he's touching me because my boyfriend at the time was a prize fighter and I just didn't want any problems. And so she marched back into the office. She goes, oh my gosh. And she went right upstairs directly to HR, and it became a thing. And at first I was scared to death. Oh, I'm going to get fired. Why did I open my mouth? It was harmless. But then she said, it's taken care of. He will never touch you again.
What did they do to him?
And then there was hard feelings.
What did they do? What did they do to him?
Well, he was the president of the company, and he was acting like a mentor to me at the time.
That's not really funny.
So it was awkward for about a month. He wouldn't look at me, he wouldn't talk to me. But the interesting thing, I'm a person of faith. The interesting thing about that was that it ended up working itself out. Like, that company had their HR department so airtight, and it worked so well, that there was no hard feelings in the end. And we ended up becoming good friends, and, I still respect her to this day.
But they did slap him on the wrist, right?
That whole culture was, I was getting invited, to different things, and when the men are pushing me to take lunch and then have me cutting papers behind their office so that, they have eye candy, and then, touching me in the cubicle, at what point, because I was so naive at the time, I was very young, that it never occurred to me that that's what it was. It was sexual harassment, and it wasn't extreme, but it could have turned into something extreme.
How old were you at the time that it happened?
I was 23 years old, but I was a naive 23-year-old. I wasn't like
So if you didn't bring
wise,
didn't bring it to the attention of others, how would anybody know that you were feeling uncomfortable?
I don't even know to this day why I opened my mouth.
But that was a good thing.
I was really afraid of my boyfriend getting the wrong impression. If he had ever come
because
into
he's
the
a boxer,
office.
because he was a professional boxer. So
I was more concerned about him being jealous and having him, pulverize someone. That I felt like I had to say something to kind of make sure he doesn't come in my cubicle.
But it was fear induced.
Someone's getting knocked out.
Right, but it was fear induced because you weren't afraid of repercussions at work. You were more afraid of your husband,
your boyfriend,
your boyfriend coming up there and knocking somebody out, and then you definitely lose your job.
It did teach me that HR is powerful, and they really can protect you. But you still get, like you said, if other workers are mad at you because, why does she get to go to the party? I've been here 5 years. The temp comes in and she's, greeting everyone and I got a hotel suite, and I was supposed to have a regular room at this hotel where all 30 of the representatives went. And
so looking back now, the reason, Michelle,
Yeah.
So looking back now, after the fact, you were given those special attention and the hotel room. You were specifically being selected with a motive in mind, right? The other employees may not be aware of that, but was the intention eventually to expect more from you?
No, I think, okay, it just worked out that all the rooms got full, and the only room available, and this can happen, turned out
so
to
it's
be
not a
the
big deal
suite.
then. That's good.
But
That's
I did have a
Worked out
roommate,
well.
and it was another woman worker. But
Good.
but the people at the company, from their perception, why is the temporary girl,
You're
the
being
temporary
favored,
employee,
yeah.
getting all this attention?
And they didn't watch out for you. They're like, okay, well, she comes in here, she
No,
thinks
but-
she's all that, and they didn't support you.
But Michelle said she didn't mention it to anyone except the
But
HR
you know what?
person.
I have a funny feeling they kind of saw, they knew what was going on, and they were just jealous, and they wanted you to fail and get fired or quit. They didn't have your
Well,
back
these
except that
women,
lady that you went to
the
talk
women-
to.
The women that worked with me were older, and they were very kind to me. It wasn't my
okay.
immediate group. They were supportive. It was the people on the other end that were like, why is she getting attention? You know what I mean? There's about 50 people. It's a nice-sized corporation. But it doesn't, regardless, when my husband said to me, you don't have any stop signs, and then this happened, why was he saying, how come, did anybody ask you out to lunch today? So it's amazing how, if you're in your 20s and you're good looking and, you're in shape, that you can get attention. It's not always the attention you want. Now, nobody worries about me today because I'm in my 50s, a little bit more frumpier. I don't have any problem being harassed today. But it is sad that, we have daughters, and they are in environments where, they can be harassed.
So Michelle,
and it can be detrimental.
So Michelle, from your experience, what advice would you give the
Yes.
daughters out there?
Absolutely.
Because you've been there, done that. What advice, if anybody's listening, for a younger 23-year-old Michelle, what advice would you give them? That you have learned from this.
I think you can't tolerate bad behavior. You have to speak up. So, like, for example, if somebody wants to tell you a dirty joke, don't let people get away with that. You have to say, that's not acceptable.
But you said your husband said you don't have a stop sign. What stop sign would you give to anybody out there that's a stop sign and it would work for everybody?
Where do you draw the line?
Where do you draw the line?
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, that's a great question. I think you just need to really take a look at your surroundings and the people you're with, and you can tell. If you just trust your intuition,
Instinct.
you can tell. How you'll know how to
something's
react
wrong.
to certain
Yes,
individuals
yes.
by your intuition.
And
I probably wouldn't have been so willing, like to Danya's point, just being a people pleaser, just trying to talk to people and make them feel comfortable and, be likable. Today, now I have better judgment, and I'm like, okay, this is not someone I really want to be chummy with. You know what I mean? My intuition is telling me, keep it business professional, keep it serious, don't be alone in the room with this person, things like that.
And right before the show, I did mention the fact, now I might get some haters out there. They may not agree with what I'm going to say. I'm just going to throw this out there. I kind of resent a lot of rap artists because of the fact that they disrespect women. And I know it is the thing, bitches and hoes and all that stuff, but look at it. Look at the rate of rape that has gone up exponentially. Did I say it right?
Yeah. Every 2 minutes, a woman is raped in the USA. Every 2 minutes, and that's only reported rape.
Yes.
Reported rape. I checked the statistics.
Yes.
Every 2 minutes, a woman is raped here in the US, and that's only reported rape.
And rape is a violent act because it can lead to major harm or death. So what we're trying to say is that if you're going through something like that, if you know someone going through that, just take a deep breath, put your big girl pants on. If it's happening to a guy, put your big boy pants on and report it. Document. It's called documentation. In the work that I do, I'm a QMHA. The supervisors will say, if it's not in your progress notes, if you didn't write it down, it didn't happen.
Same in HR. The
Same
employees
thing,
are
yes.
told. Yeah.
Yes, you have to report it because it could escalate. Because there's a lot of guys, and I'm not blaming you guys, because a lot of women, we accept bad behavior. We accept the twerking and all that, showing our booty and everything. Actually, we're just trying to be people pleasers. We want to be loved. Maybe we didn't get the love from our dad. Maybe that's our way of getting attention. But ladies, girls, it does not work because it leads to disrespect, sexual abuse, rape. It could lead to other violent acts, because if I don't respect myself, Zee, how can I expect a man to respect me?
Well, I won't appreciate you, calling me a
That's how I
bitch
see
or
it.
a
Can I say
hoe or
one last
slut.
thing
I
before
don't think
I
that's...
jump off?
Yeah, we got like 2 more
when you're
minutes.
talking about reporting.
Okay.
I didn't want to get my boss in trouble, and I knew it was going to go on his permanent record. And that's what crushed me. I thought, oh gosh, maybe I've overreacted, whatever. But let me tell you, a few years later, I was talking to my sister. A man who was harassing my sister, believe it or not, because there were so many reports of this guy through the years. He eventually was fired. But if the first, 2 women, 3 women, however many it was, hadn't put on the file of the different times he had tried something, then when my sister put something on the file, he would not have been fired. So it is important to document, even if it's just, a small
little
thing.
note.
So I just wanted to reinforce that it all matters.
Yeah, our track record is really important. It's just like a lot of women are intimidated to not have file by retaliating or filing a restraining order because of fear. So even if they get a divorce or whatever, if they do not leave that restraining order there, and this person gets remarried again and does it again, at least it's on. If he does do it, it's on record that he's got a. It's his history. He's leaving a footprint.
And you know the way I see it, if they push you out of that job, that's a sign right there that you really can do better with another job. I mean, we don't want to get
for a reason, yeah.
Right, things happen for reasons. If it's if it's happening to you or someone please report it, document, date, time, and I tell you what,
keep a diary
keep a
as
diary,
well, a journal
and
or something.
I'm speaking to myself because I'm an older woman. I'm just 29 years old. Just stop laughing. Maria's laughing. But seriously, sexual harassment can happen to any of us. And, it does make you feel flattered that you're in your job and everybody likes you and you're popular. But the whole scheme of things, it's really negativity that is going to bring you down. So report it to somebody, document. And if you have a counselor or a pastor or someone that is your confidant that you can trust, go and talk about it, because it could escalate to something extremely violent.
It's also a nice idea to have, no matter what age you are, or we all, like I say, want to belong to a community or something, a group of friends, whether you're popular or not. Have a support system, because as we get older or younger or whatever, no matter what job you're in, have a support system, people you can talk to, friendship, anybody at all. Just build up a support group for yourself, and that's going to give you strength. So if you're going through anything personally, at least you've got somebody to talk to, because if you keep it to yourself, it will eventually explode in different ways. You may get sick, you may get stressed, depression, you may want to commit suicide.
That's right.
So reach out.
They say we are sick as our secrets. So, and this can happen to guys. We mentioned that. It's not just yang, but it can go yang the other way, because men are sexually harassed. But how many men actually come forward and say, hey, my boss, she wanted me to do her. I need to do it because, I don't want to lose his job. I got 3 kids, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of times men don't go forward because they're ashamed.
It because they're told, be a man, have backbone, you're strong, you're a wuss, you're calling them the P word or whatever. But so they feel, and there are not too many support system or places for men to go out there. It's more geared to the women, because if we have brothers or uncles or, whatever, male in the family, from a young age, they were told this is a man's role and this is a woman's role. We're supposed to be nurturing and caring and
Yes.
producing babies. Men, you got to be strong. You got to be, have that image. And if you're not, then, it's like,
And you're
weak.
you know what's coming to my mind also, and I know this is kind of off topic, but a lot of boys do not report when they've been harassed by priests. And that's a whole nother
God.
show. Okay, but it does happen. And
Oh.
because it happened to my ex boyfriend, he told me that a priest had harassed him sexually and kind of cornered him. So he was afraid of nuns. He was afraid of going to church. We go to church and he'd say, "Oh my God, I excuse me, I got to get out of here."
well, there are a lot of documentaries, not
Yes.
stories. In Canada with the Native Americans, I just looked at one for the Aborigines in Australia. It's happening all over the
All
world,
over
but
the
because
world,
of how,
yes.
because of their position, they're given a free ride to do it too. They move them from parish to parish, and they get a
Yes.
chance to go and molest somebody else's little boy. 20 years, 50 years from now, those little boys grow up to be men. I know in Canada they did 60 Minutes and they interviewed some of the young men who are alcoholics. So when we're not supposed to judge anybody unless we walk a mile in their shoe. You don't know what was done to them in the name of religion.
Absolutely.
People using that power, the title, to get away with it. And who would believe them? They're just little boys. They, probably think, well, if the church didn't take them in, they'd be street kids. They'd be dead anyway. But they're human beings. We're all
Yes.
God's creatures. We're all, we're all going the same place when we die.
But again, I attribute it to the movies are violent, shows a lot of men raping and hitting women. You look at the rap videos, the way they there's no respect for young
respect for
girls
women,
or
yeah.
women. So it
But-
sends
but
a negative message. That's my feeling.
But it's not only
you
the
know?
male rappers. If the
And the
women
female
rappers are doing
rappers,
to themselves,
I know, yeah.
if they're calling
Think
each
bitch and a
other,
hoe. I mean, come on. Did I say?
would
oh,
any of you like to be
bleep,
called
bleep,
that?
bleep.
Would
No.
anyone like to be called a bitch or a hoe or a slut? I know, even in a nice
Right.
way. No, I don't.
So girls, you know what? Don't feel
I think having
bad.
self-respect is important.
You can get attention by taking pictures or going to modeling school, acting classes. But if you're getting the wrong attention at work or in a professional
Speak up.
environment,
Speak
or
up.
if you're getting the wrong attention and the wrong kind of affection, like with your mom's boyfriend or a family member, speak up. We just want to encourage you. Speak up. There's a lot of help out there. So with that, we're going to wrap up the show. And thank you so much, Zee Ali.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited about this. And I really hope that we could just touch, even if it's just one person's life,
Yeah.
to let you know that we care and contact us and let
Yes,
us know
there
what
is
you think.
help out there.
Yes.
There is. And again, have a support system of
Yes.
friends, uncles, aunts,
Absolutely.
anybody at all. You're not alone.
Yes.
You're not alone.
So with all that, we say goodbye.
Good night.
We love you.